What's happening, everybody? Thanks for tuning in for Flippin' Cassettes, another Jason Thrifts webinar. And I am excited to be giving this to you. Cassettes are where it's at right now. Look, I know it's 2019. I know that you can stream music, download music, rip music, steal music, borrow your friend's music. But for some reason, people want cassettes. And hey, who are we to argue with people wanting to buy something from us? So now tonight's the night to learn all about flipping cassettes. So my musical career started in the late 90s in Elyria, Ohio at a place called the Record Exchange, as pictured here. I know this is not the most in focus picture, but it's the best one I could find. And I fell in love with working in music retail. I was already an adult by that point. I actually had a career. I left it because the music store is where I had to be at. So I worked for a chain of music stores over a couple of years. They had stores in Detroit, Cleveland, and Pittsburgh, and I worked in all 11 stores. And so I saw what different regions produced because, you know, every area has different tastes, and every store even in the same area has different tastes. So that's kind of where it began for me. And then my wife's job took us to Long Beach, California. And when she got there before I did, and she calls me one day and says, "Hey, I found a record store. You will love it. I hate it." And the reason she hated it because they had so much product. You know, it was in the bins like a normal record store, and then it was just stacked in piles in front of everything. And I ended up working there, and Fingerprint's one of the largest independent retailers in the country for record stores. So I worked there for quite a while, and then my wife got transferred up to the Santa Monica area. Oops, wrong button. And so I went up to work for Tower Records in Westwood in the UCLA area, and I worked there until it closed. And when they closed up shop, they moved me over to the big one, the Mac Daddy, Tower Records in Hollywood on Sunset Boulevard. It was an amazing place to work. It was the early 2000s. There really wasn't a lot of online buying. There were no music to listen to online, no YouTube, nothing like that. So if a celebrity wanted to buy some music, they had to come down here. So pretty much every day I helped different celebrities. It was a ton of fun, but however, I worked the second shift. I worked from 4 p.m. to midnight or 1 a.m. And my wife worked banker's hours. We never really saw each other. So when she changed companies, I was able to leave that and go basically to full-time selling online for myself. So I've been well immersed in record from the retail standpoint and from the used standpoint, because most of the places I worked had used components. Even the Tower Records in UCLA was trying out to have used stuff. So they were even dabbling in it towards the end. Now, back in the day, if you wanted to listen to music, you put on a record. And we've all listened to records. But the problem with records is you got to replace the needle. You got to replace the cartridge. The records get warped. The records get scratched. It's a lot of headache. Although it's the warmest sound, it is not the most easy to listen to. I do want to give a special shout out to my mother. 1985 Christmas. I was 14 going on 15. And although she didn't understand or agree with the music I listened to, these were two of my Christmas presents that year: Iron Maiden Live After Death and the Cramps Bad Music for Bad People. So just a little shout out to my ma for indulging me in the music I enjoyed and not trying to force, you know, what she liked on me, although I liked all my mom's music too. So yeah, I'm that weird bird. I've seen Marilyn Manson in concert in the same week I've seen Bette Midler. So yes, I'm all over the map. Now, if you had your music on vinyl and you wanted to take it to, say, a party or on the road, you'd have to pack up your record player. You'd have to pack up all your records and head out. So that's not all that convenient. So cut to the early 1950s and reel-to-reels came out. This was our first exposure to basically what would turn into the cassette tape. Reel-to-reels do quite well, some of them in the aftermarket. But if you've never seen a reel-to-reel or how it works, here's a quick video. And when I say quick, I'm being a little facetious, because to listen to music on a reel-to-reel was a lot of work. So you had to load the music up to the one side. You had to load a blank one up to the other side. Now you got to start running the line up and down and around all the little components down there at the bottom. I'm sure they have names. I don't know them. And as you can see, we are still going. So think about popping a tape in and hitting play. back in the 60s, this was not quick. It looked a lot cooler than a cassette once it got going, but it was a lot of work. So again, this is not something you're going to take like portable and take it with you. All right, now the invention of the 8-track, early 1960s. And I wanted to give one more quick shout out to my mom. She bought me a little portable 8-track player that had one speaker when I was 7 years old. And this was the first 8-track I bought, Kiss Double Platinum. Now, if you're unfamiliar with how 8-tracks work, there are 4 separate areas for the music, or 8 actually. They're double-sided. And so it would click through the tracks. And the problem is the break is never at the end of a song, typically. So you'd be listening to a song, like one of my, I'll never forget this, from the time I was 7, I'll never forget. At the Firehouse by Kiss, it would go, at the fire, and then it would fade out. The track would click, and it'd be like, house, bah, bah, bah. It was, it takes you out of that moment. Like you're listening to a song, you're in it, and you're like, pause, click. Yeah, so that isn't convenient either. Plus, they're on the bigger side. So to take your collection of 8-tracks around, again, not all that convenient. But along came commercial music on commercial cassettes. So much more portable. They're small. They fit in your hand. They're awesome. Now, we know exactly what the first CD ever produced was, but the records are a little fuzzy on cassettes. Most historians think it's one of these two, Nina Simone's Wild as the Wind or Eartha Kitt's Love for Sale. Now, sometimes you find early records, early CDs are worth a lot of money. These two on cassette probably wouldn't be worth that much, but just want to give you a little bit of history. So the early 1970s is when it took off and when everyone switched to buying cassettes. Like the vinyl had a decline, 8-tracks and reel-to-reels were over, and cassettes were where it's at. All right, so we're rolling through the 70s without a hiccup until 1982 shows up. And here we are, the first commercial CD release, Billy Joel, 52nd Street. This cost $37, and you had to play it on this. This was your only choice for a CD player. However, that cost $1,750. And just to show you what it means in today's dollars, this would be a $100 CD in 2019 and a $5,000 CD player. So cassettes still weren't worried. They were still having a grand old party. But now we're in 1985, and CDs have started to take hold, and Dire Straits' Brothers in Arms was the first CD to outsell its cassette counterpart. This thus begins the era of CDs and the rapid decline of cassettes. To give you a little idea here of some facts and figures, in 1990, there were 442 million pre-recorded cassettes sold. Cut to 2007, 17 years later, only 274,000 and 34,000 sold in 2009. And don't forget, these are new sales. We're not talking about used just yet. Most companies discontinue cassettes in 2003. So the ones you see still selling 2004 through 2009 are very small independent labels. So Warner Brothers cut them out, BMG cut them out, Sony cut them out. No more cassettes. The cassette was dead. So here's a little graph to show you exactly what was happening. Early 1990, we're looking at 440 million cassettes sold, and by 2001, it's almost touching the zero. So CDs went up, and then cassettes just plummeted. I wonder what happened in 97 that gave that CD a little bit of a downtick there. Look into that, somebody, would you? Get back to me. All right. However, cassette tape sales continue to rise in the United States as Billboard reports. According to Nielsen Music, cassette album sales are up 23% with 219,000 tapes sold in 2018 compared to 178,000 in 2017. But that in itself was a 35% increase. Again, that's just new sales. So you'd walk into a store, you'd buy a new album on cassette. When I look at the completed CDs on eBay, the completed records and the completed cassettes, and then I switch to solds, of all the listings that ended in completed, 63% of the CDs sold, 60% of the records sold, and 47% of the cassettes sold. Now, I don't know the exact number from 5 years ago, but I guarantee you the first number was not a 4. If it was a 2, it'd be a miracle. but it's a 4 today. I guarantee you by the end of this year, I'll be in the 5s. So it'll be like 53, 54%. But why? What occurred to bring back cassettes? Something had to have happened. There is no reason, just by pure happenstance, that a dead format shows back up on our radar. Well, here's what happened. Rocket Raccoon, Groot, Star-Lord. If you've not seen Guardians of the Galaxy, you should, because it's a great movie, great action, tons of great comedy to it too. But this came out August 1st, 2014. And for those who don't know, Chris Pratt played Star-Lord, and his mother was human from Earth, and she had made him this awesome mixtape volume 1. So part of the movie was him listening to his music, which was mainly 60s and 70s classic rock, and he played this mixtape on his Sony Walkman. We'll talk about the Walkman a little bit later, but the music was great. They really picked a great selection of music. But B, everyone was like, oh my God, cassette tapes? Especially youngsters were like, what's an awesome mix volume 1? Now, we all know, the majority of us who are listening to this, we all made our own mixtapes back in high school. But what happened was there's this thing called Record Store Day. And it used to be once a year in April, and they would release limited edition vinyl of new records, of old records being re-released. And then it got so popular, they added a second one on Black Friday. So in that year of 2014, they decided, there we go, mid-April and Black Friday. They decided that in 2014, for the Black Friday one, they were going to release the Guardians of the Galaxy Awesome Mixtape. And what they did was they wrote it, they printed it so it looks like it was handwriting. So this isn't handwritten. This was how it was printed. And so it kind of looked like Star-Lord's mom made the cassette tape. And people went crazy for it, still selling for $40. And when they sold it, it was $9. All right, so cassettes got a little bit of life in them. They had no life. They were dead. They were beyond flat. They were done. So in 2015, Record Store Day decided to release Metallica's No Life to Leather. That was their first ever release. We'll talk about the original a little bit later. But again, they made it look like it was handwritten. And this again was like $9 or $10, and it's still, as you can see, it's still selling for $40. And these, so of all the releases that come out those days, is majority of vinyl, couple CDs, and one cassette and one cassette only. And the cassettes sell out immediately, and you can flip them online for 3 and 4 and 5 times money. Then in 2016, Sublime, they did a re-release of Sublime's first ever release called Jah Won't Pay the Bills. Now that's only selling for $16.50 nowadays, so it doesn't have the same panache that Metallica and Guardians of the Galaxy did, but we will talk about the original Sublime Jah Won't Pay the Bills in a bit. Then in 2017, they went back to doing one that looked like someone had handwritten it. Paul McCartney and Elvis Costello did a 3-song demo together, a very odd pairing. And they did it so cool and so different that there's nothing on side B. It's just the 3 songs on side A. And again, it was like $10. And as you can see, it's still selling for $35. So Record Store Day is really fueling the excitement to bring back cassettes into the lexicon of how we listen to music. Then in 2018, they decided to do something a little bit different. AC/DC's Back in Black is one of the greatest selling albums of all time. It's been certified platinum. It has sold over 10 million copies. And so you would think, do people care about an album that sold that much? Yeah, they do, because it still sells for $25. And when it came out, it was $10. And I somehow missed this day. I usually don't miss them, but every once in a while, my wife and I are away, and I don't even remember this coming out. So I was not at Record Store Day 2018 for some reason. Then in 2019, the year we're in right now, they came out with a Prince one, the Versace Experience, and it was $11. And the week it came out, people were getting upwards of $100 on eBay. Because here's the deal. Not everyone has a record store near them. And those that do, not every record store participates in Record Store Day. So if you want this Prince cassette and you're not near one of those record stores, the only place to get them is a secondary market like eBay or Amazon or Mercari or Etsy. And so if you are tuned into what's hot and what's coming out, you can make some money right off of Record Store Day. Now, what's coming up in 2020? I don't know, but we'll all find out on April 20th, 2020. I'll see you at the record store. All right, there used to be dead formats. There aren't anymore. Everything old is new again. There are no dead formats. They're all undead. And our local record store basically wallpapered around their fire sprinkler room with cassettes. And I just look at that wall when I'm in their shop and I'm like, oh, look at all these good cassettes they used. But record stores are fully aware of what's happening. And so step one, where do we find all these cassettes? Because that's why you're here tonight. You're here to learn about where to find them, what to do with them, how to get them, all that good stuff. So let's start with where we find them. Record stores all over the country. Now, I travel quite a bit, and so I hit all the record stores. I'm in Chicago at least once a year. Lately, I've been there a couple times a year. And what I liked about the Chicago stores, they're not only having cassette sections, they're having cassette sections, and they're breaking them down into categories. As you can see them in the metal section. Below that is the soundtrack and comp section. You can't see the tag, but to the left of metal is the punk section. But I did take this picture because I got a great laugh out of this. Anyone know who Benjamin Orr was? And I say was because he did pass away quite a few years ago. He was the bass player in the Cars, and he was responsible for the Cars song Drive. Who's gonna drive you home tonight? Yeah, that's not really metal. And he was in the metal section. So some youngster at this record store needs a little bit of lesson in what's metal. All right, now here's Boston. Now, if you look at these prices, they know exactly what's going on with cassettes. So the Wu-Tang Clan on the top is $19.99. The Mobb Deep is $29.99. Master P is only $5.99. That wouldn't stop me from looking them up, though, because like the 1, 2, 3, 4, the sixth one down is Nostradamus. They got $9.99. Now, I'd grab that. I'd look it up online. If it's selling for 20, 30, 40 bucks, I'd pay them 10. Heck yeah. Because the great thing is its cassettes are small and easy to list and ship. And so there's not a lot of work to them. You know, there's a lot of work if you're selling a 7-tiered chandelier. There's not a lot of work if you're selling a cassette. All right, here's Tucson. If Joy's watching, one of my admins in the thrifting board, they don't have an exact correct way to show these off. This is 3 rows deep and it's lower. It's a lower shelf. So if you didn't realize it was 3 rows deep, you might look at that front row and just stop. I plopped my butt down and I yanked out every cassette and found all the goodies. So make sure that you're realizing the depth of the area where the cassettes are being displayed, because there might be more than one row. And here's Portland. This is a great record store in Portland. It's been there forever. I got a funny little story about this corner. This record store started where it started, and then they expanded over the years, and it's actually built on a hill. So as they expanded, the store actually goes downhill. So every time you go to the next section, you're going down, you're going down, you're going down. In the original section, there's also an upstairs. So this is the furthest back little nook of a corner, and I'm in Portland usually about once or twice a year, and this little section keeps getting bigger and bigger. It's the cassette section, obviously. Well, I was on my knees scanning, and my poor wife couldn't find me anywhere. She had combed the store 4 times, upstairs, downstairs. She even went outside. And when she was telling me that later, I'm like, did you think I just left you at the record store? I would never do that. So when she finally found me, she's like, have you been here the whole time? I'm like, yeah, I've been scanning cassettes the entire time. Now, this is Las Vegas. This used to be how robust the section was in one of the Zia records here in Las Vegas. And my wife and I went a couple of weeks ago to work on this webinar, and I went to where the cassette section used to be. I said, hey, where's the cassette section? And the employee pulled me over, and this was all that was there. I said, hey, where's the rest of the section? And she said, someone bought it all. I'm like, who? All right, well, I'm not the only person in town buying stuff. All righty. And then this is Seattle. All 3 of these sections, that's all cassettes. So they're so on top of it. It's all cassettes. It's used and new. The ones on this closest one to you here on the left, that's all new releases from regional acts and national acts. So they're really going all in on the whole cassette craze. So as you can see, it is everywhere around the country. It's not just in my neck of the woods. It's in your neck of the woods too. All right, tip number 1. Fly Southwest. If you're going to travel for work or pleasure and you're going to do some sourcing, fly Southwest. You get 2 bags checked for free. You get to bring a carry-on for free, and you get to bring a personal item like a purse or a backpack. I use an oversized satchel. No one gives me a hard time, because when we travel, we bring home a lot of music and a lot of tiki mugs, both on the breakable side. So this is how our carry-ons always look, full of music. And I always wonder what the TSA guy thinks when he scans it and he just sees like 200 cassettes jammed into a carry-on. He must be like, What year is this? All right, garage sales. Everyone's always cleaning out their stuff. Make sure to keep your eyes peeled at garage sales for all types of music, especially cassettes, because people are definitely going to run for the records. They're going to run for the CDs, but no one runs for the cassettes. All right, tip number 2. Do not cherry pick when the deal is already too good. I started to cherry pick this selection. This was all in one box. And I said to the guy, oh, hey, how much did you want for these cassettes? He goes, I don't know, give me $10 for the whole box. And I saw this Snoop Doggy Dogg Doggy Style cassette in there with the missing track that got pulled off after it first came out. And that's worth $25 by itself. So at $10, I wasn't going to think any more about it. I wasn't going to cherry pick no more. I was just going to pick up the whole box, hand them $10 and leave. So don't cherry pick when the deal is too good. Because if you do, you might end up leaving behind something that you didn't know and you didn't recognize, and you get home like, oh, crap, that was a $100 cassette. So grab them all. All right, estate sales, depending on the age of the person. Usually estate sales are people who passed. Depending on the age of the person who passed, they're going to have records, or they're going to have 8-tracks, or they're going to have reel-to-reels or cassettes. And like I said, dealers, eBay sellers, they'll run to records, they'll run to CDs, but no one runs to cassettes. So get to them. And antique stores. If you never thought of antique stores as a place to buy music, they have it there too. This is an antique store just down the street from our house. And I stopped in there today to look around, and there's a couple good winners here in this little briefcase full of cassettes. So that's another place to look. All right. Tip number 3 in 3 parts and 2 subsets. All right. Part 1, make sure the pad is there. See the little thing in the middle? That is the felt pad. If you don't know how a cassette works, here's the general idea. When you push the play button, this metal thing comes up and it presses itself against the tape. The cassette moves, so the tape runs across that metal thing, and that metal thing reads the music. It needs that sponge to push back on, because that sponge isn't there. When that metal thing engages, the tape drops down, and then your music sounds like this. So if the felt's not there, it is not a deal breaker, but you got to always look to make sure it is there. Oh, I forgot I had a fun little graphic. Da, 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 da. Don't make sure the felt is there. Okay, subset A. If you're working with a cassette and the felt just falls off while you're there, you can glue it yourself. So pull the tape up just a little bit. Get out whatever handy dandy glue you got laying around. I fully realize this is out of focus. I didn't realize it the day I took it. My bad. I'm sorry. So put some glue on the felt pad, stick it on, and then set it off to the corner to let it dry. So that was subset A. Subset B, and much easier, you can buy the felt pads on eBay, on Amazon, Google Shopping, and they have a self-adhesive. So you peel them off just like this. So I got these little handy dandy tweezers, and I'm going to peel it off and then just set it in there, give it a little push down so it sticks, and then ta-da, done. Don't have to really wait for anything to dry, and that's it. See how easy that was? So you can fix up a broken thing really quick. All right, part number 2 of this is take your pen or pencil and make sure the cassette spins. Now, if the cassette is stuck, it's not dead, like it's not a total deal breaker, but you're going to have to get a little tiny screwdriver and take this whole thing apart and fix it. But I wouldn't do that on a $10 cassette. You happen to find a $100 cassette? Absolutely. But you find Vanilla Ice to the extreme, do not waste your time on trying to fix a cassette. And number 3, just visually grade it. Look at the tape. If there's the slightest wrinkle in the tape at all, you will see it really quick. And there is no way to fix that wrinkle. So leave it behind, but just visually grade them. All right, thrift stores. Thrift stores are putting out cassettes as much as record stores are. This is the cassette section at the nearest Savers to me. About 8 months ago, it was just the top row and the rest was CDs. They've actually given more shelf space to cassettes and less to CDs in the recent past. But as you can see, about a month ago, they didn't even have enough cassettes to fill the bottom row. Well, this was last week, and not only did they fill the whole thing, I'm going to show you in a second, they had even more. So that was a full cassette section. And so tip number 4 is When the Just Out cart walks by you full of cassettes and CDs and videos, go to it. Now, do you see where the cassettes are there in the left? I took this picture after I picked them, but I did take this before I picked them. So I saw the cart walk by me. I was actually talking to the district manager, and I'm like, I'll be right back. And so I walked over and I grabbed Rage Against the Machine, AC/DC, Lynyrd Skynyrd, Red Hot Chili Peppers, the Doors soundtrack, Blondie, The Cure, Metallica, Depeche Mode, and Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. I did leave Anne Murray, Lawrence Welk, and Barbra Streisand behind. So if that's something you're looking for, to the Tropicana Savers here in Las Vegas. Tip number 5. All right. Okay. Don't do this if they're different prices, but if they're different prices, this is my recommendation. I mean, if they're the same price, this is my recommendation. All these cassettes are 99 cents, and then I have discounts. If you see a cassette you want and it's in a disgusting destroyed case like this, just switch it with another case. So I had this YouTube that was in a really crummy case. It was not only broke, it was melted at one part. It had a hole in it. And then this is the sounds of the ocean when you're sailing, a cassette you would never buy to flip, but it had a really, really nice case. So I just switched them. And now my U2's got a nice little case, and the sailing, new age sailing music is in the crummier case. Like I said, they're the same price, so it doesn't really matter. If they were different prices, don't do it. But same price, no biggie. Now, if you're trying to switch out 50 cases, I wouldn't take the time because we're talking about buying fresh cases. But if you just need one, go ahead. And don't forget your childhood bedroom. How many of us still have music at home? I have a whole box of mixtapes at home. I still got to get shipped out to me. So I just Googled teenage bedroom pictures. This was the third one that came up on Google. Look at all the cool shit in this picture for sale, including the cassettes right in the middle. Great posters, great hats, guitars, awesome stuff there. All right, tip number 6. Do not, under any circumstances, buy these specific record club tapes. Whoop. Okay, there we go. I actually have a live example so I can show you. So, do you remember, depends on how old you are, you either got 8 records for a penny, 8 8-tracks for a penny, 8 cassettes for a penny, or 8 CDs for a penny, and then you had to buy like 4 more at like $40 a piece. But this specific one that has the 2 reddish pink lines that run across the top and the bottom, they used the least quality cassettes, and these cassettes are now 35 years old. So unlike a fine wine, these don't age well. They were bad to begin with, and over the years, they have gotten worse and worse and worse. So anything, and I don't care, because you'll find Led Zeppelin on these. Don't buy any of them, even if they're cheap, because you're just going to end up with an unhappy customer. So leave all these behind. Look how many were at Savers that day. I was taking some pictures. That's a lot of, that was someone's whole collection, obviously, because they were all there at the same time. But man, they went from the Police to John Cougar to Barbara Mandrell, Steve Martin. They had a heck of a cross section of taste there. Eddie Rabbit, I love a rainy night. All right, and online, you can find so much good stuff online. This 83 hard rock heavy metal cassette lot is $99, $11 for shipping. So it's a little over like $1.25 a cassette. But in those cassettes, I see a good handful of $10, $12, $15 cassettes and some good groupings. So I actually could make some decent money off of this one lot. This is thrash metal. For those of you who don't know what thrash metal is, it's like Slayer and Overkill and bands that most of you have never listened to. But again, $69 for 20 cassettes. We're looking a little over $3 a cassette. And these cassettes on average would bring you $10 to $12 a piece. So again, it's a good lot to buy on eBay and then turn around and sell them individually. Now, for those of you who can sell on Amazon, and we'll get into that a little bit later, Van Halen Greatest Hits, just the one I circled in this listing, that sells on Amazon for $35 every single time I find it. So I could have bought this whole collection for $30 plus $7 shipping. That one cassette would cover the whole thing. And then those 2 Guns N' Roses, the middle row, the furthest left, and the one next to it, that's Guns N' Roses, The Spaghetti Incident, and Guns N' Roses Lies. Those are good by themselves for at least $15 to $18, and so on and so forth. So you can find great lots online. Now, Macari, maybe some of you have never even thought of it, Bakari is a great place to find cassette lots. As a matter of fact, there's tons of solds and not tons of actives because the ones that come up get sold pretty quick. If you look in the middle row, furthest to the right, that is 3 Iron Maiden cassettes that sold for $13. Coming up, I'm going to show you 3 Iron Maidens that sold for a lot more on eBay. So you could source a lot from Bakari and take that same lot and get way more money on eBay. And then the local apps. So if you're not using your local apps, you should be for all your sourcing, but it's a great place to look up cassettes. The first one here is OfferUp. I just typed in cassettes and actual cassettes came up, video cassettes came up, video cassette players. This is Facebook Marketplace. Here are the different cassettes. This is 5 Mile, and this is Let Go, and they all had cassettes too. So get your local apps, start looking for cassettes and everything else that you flip too. All right, tip number 7. Anyone know Hino? I'm going to guess most of you don't, maybe all of you. You'd probably be shocked to know this is one of the biggest selling German artists of all time. 50 million records sold. And so people like him in a weird, quirky kind of way. And I'm like, oh, I haven't seen Hino on cassette. I'm going to buy it. And my tip is to make sure to look inside beyond just the pad, because I noticed, oh, well, that's not a commercially released cassette. And the inner cover was not even cardboard. It was paper that someone photocopied. And as another example, I bought a lot of cassettes and in it was one fake. So Pomi's Yo Bum Russia show is color, so it's not black and white. That tells me right away that it's fake. And again, this is paper as opposed to, normal cassettes. It's a thicker card stock. This is just absolute paper. And they went so far as to actually print off stickers for this cassette too to make bootlegs of this. So keep your eyes peeled. You don't want to be caught selling bootlegs because that's never good nor smart on anything, not just cassettes, purses, CDs. Don't sell bootlegs. And then retail limited editions. This blew my mind. So my wife and I are in one of the Zia record stores in Vegas, and I'm looking at the cassette section, and I see Atomic Blonde, and I'm like, wait a minute, Atomic Blonde came out last year, and so we were in the shop in 2018, and yeah, came out in 2017, and I'm like, why is a movie in 2017 releasing their soundtrack on cassette? So then what I found out was it was an exclusive at Urban Outfitters. And so I bought it for $5, and this one on eBay just sold for $25. But when I sold mine, I got $35 for it. So even retails get into it, so much so that Target is getting rid of their CD section. They sold Britney Spears' Baby One More Time on cassette last year for $11.99. Teenagers were buying multiple copies. I'm like, what's happening? They got rid of CDs to put in cassettes. And it's flipping for right this moment, $20 to $23. So not a huge markup, but you could double your money. So if you have happened to walk into Target last year and picked up 4 of these, you'd double your money. All right. So step 2. So you're finding cassettes here and there. And how do you know if you should actually buy the ones you're looking at? All right. Well, what you do is you scan it with your Amazon or eBay app on your phone. So the eBay app is the one in the lower left-hand corner, and there are 2 Amazon apps. The one in the middle is the normal, what I call the buyer app. Any person can have that and download it. The seller app is the black one with the white little Amazon tag. You have to be registered as a seller. Anyone can get registered as a seller, but you got to go through a few steps, and you have to prove you're a real human and with a bank account and a credit card. Some people, for whatever reason, wig out at that point. But it's nice to have the seller app because it gives you a little bit more information than the buyer app does. So we're going to show you a little video here. And so I'm going to tap the buyer app first. So I'm going to tap the Amazon app. Then in the upper right-hand corner, there's a picture of a camera. So I'm going to tap on that. And then because this cassette has a barcode, I'm going to click the start button, and the little magic blue dots are going to come up. And they are going to read the barcode and say, hey, it's the Billy Bragg Back to Basics cassette. And it has 2 used from $15.47. And there they are, $15.47 and $14.99, and very good and good. But if I do the same thing on the seller app, I'm going to get one more very important nugget of information. So when you scan the barcode, it shows you the same pricing, but it shows you the rank. So this is ranked 1.17 million. So almost 2 million. Was it 1.1? Yeah. 1,171,000. So the way ranking works is of all the cassettes that have sold on Amazon, this one comes in at 1,171,000. So not a fast seller. The best seller will be number one. The second best seller will be number two. All right. On the eBay app, you click the camera in the right-hand corner and you can take a picture. So you take a picture and then eBay realizes, this is the Vanilla Ice to the Extreme cassette. And then here they are, $3, $5, $6, $3. Ooh, $12.99. Someone's wishful thinking they're going to get 27. So that's by taking a picture, but you can also switch it to scan the barcode. See the little barcode thing up at the right? Just tap on that. The barcode reader comes up and then you just scan the barcode and boom, there's Bon Jovi. Slippery When Wet. $3, $12, $4, $8. So if you've never scanned anything, that's in a quick nutshell. That is how you scan. It's pretty easy. And I would go do it once in a place where you feel comfortable doing it and just get some repetition in, and then you'll be comfortable doing it, and it gets easier and easier and easier. All right, step 3, once you're getting them, you got to sort them out. And so in preparation for this webinar, I've been buying cassettes for about a year. I hadn't listed any. And so I thought, all right, let me get all my cassettes out. Let me set them on the table. Let me figure them out and start selling them, and then I'll have all the content I need for the webinar. So I counted, I had 732 cassettes I needed to sort out. Now, you're going to sort them out into two things. You're going to either group them together in multiple cassettes or sell them solo by themselves. So when I'm selling solo stuff, it's ones that are going to be worth probably about $12 or more, especially the ones that are 20 and on up. The band Cake, it was tricky to find this cassette. I actually think I undersold it. Probably should have sold it for about 30 or 35, but I did get $22 for it. The band Cancer, I'm sure you all have that in your cassette player right now. This one sold for $35. So I do not want to put that in a collection because that's a good seller all by itself. Now, the Ghetto Boys just sold for $40 about a month ago. The smallest Ghetto Boy, his name is Bushwick Bill. He just passed away a couple weeks ago. Had I had this when he passed away, the way people mourn nowadays is when a celebrity, especially a singer, dies, or a rapper in this case, people go online to Amazon, to eBay, to Google, and they buy, and they even download, they buy music from that artist because they hadn't listened to him in 20 years. Like, oh man, Bushwick Bill, the Ghetto Boys died. I need to go buy a Ghetto Boys cassette. So although I got great money, $40 a month ago, I probably could have got 50 or 60 the day after he passed away. And then the Vandals is a punk band. Just sold this one last week for $22. So that's, when you're doing your research, we're going to talk about in a second, you want to keep those by themselves. Now, the rest are going to be in groupings, and it's going to be one of two ways. You're either going to group by same artist. So, for instance, Dinosaur Jr. is a band. Here are 4 of their cassettes. I just sold this recently for $31.59 plus shipping. Here are 6 Neil Youngs, and it's even not just Neil solo. It's Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young. It's Neil Young and Crazy Horse, Neil Young solo, but it's a good thing to put together. It's all Neil Young stuff, $25. Here's 10 Madonnas. The top one is actually just like a single. Now, the thing about Madonna is super popular. We all know Madonna. If some of you don't know Cancer or Vandals, I would not be shocked. I'd be shocked if anyone doesn't know Madonna. But because we all know Madonna, each one of these releases sold millions upon millions. So to put 10 together and get $35, that's pretty good. $3.50 a piece. That's a good lot. It would be a waste of your time to have 10 listings, $3.50 each. It's better to put them. Here's 3 Kisses that just sold for $15. 5 Slayers that sold for $26. 3 Faith No Mores that sold for $18. 4 Beastie Boys sold for $35. Now that's a good little lot. Beasties are still well loved on cassette. And then this is 2 Public Enemies I sold, the Yo Bum Russia Show, and It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back for $15. Now, I wanted to show this, and you might be thinking, why are you wasting my time showing me at $15? Well, those cassettes by themselves, as you can see, they sell for $5. $5, $4.95. You put them together, all of a sudden they're worth $15 together. So people like to buy the lots. They like, all right, look, I just need a couple of Public Enemies. I want to go looking one at a time. I want to buy 2, or I want to buy 3, or I want to buy 10 Madonnas. So that's why you put them together. And these 4 LL Cool J's sold for $20. Motorhead's a great metal band. This was 9 cassettes sold for $56. That's a nice grouping. Now, sometimes you're going to do by the artist, and sometimes you're going to do by the same genre. So, for instance, this is a lot I sold. It was a lot of 90s, a lot of 90s alternative rock cassettes. So, Morphine, Pixies, Porno for Pyros, Husker Du, Mother Love Bone. These were all bands in the 90s, and it was a good grouping. Got $40 for it. Here is someone who sold 78 rock and heavy metal cassettes. I got $110. But within there, I can actually spot a comedy cassette, some punk stuff. So the person who put this lot together, it's not the greatest lot because I also see some 90s pop. It needed to be fine-tuned a little bit more because there should be never a time when the Killer Dwarves, Smashing Pumpkins, Jesus Jones, Beavis and Butthead, and Iron Maiden are all in the same lot. They just don't flow together too well. Now here's 28 British rock cassettes, and I love this lot. Sold for $65, and it was not so much about genre because Phil Collins is definitely different than Mott the Hoople, but they were all English, somewhat classic rock bands. So I kind of like this one, and it got a great price, 28 for $65, and by themselves they're like $1 to $3 cassettes. And there's some hip hop and R&B. Not a bad lot, $35. However, I normally wouldn't put Prince with Run DMC and Kid and Play. I would definitely put a rap together, and I would probably do Prince by himself, and then maybe a soul one, a soul R&B one by itself too. But don't group things that don't go together. Not everyone's a freak like me. This is actually my musical taste. So from left to right, we have Guns N' Roses, Supertramp, Wham, Public Enemy, Madonna, Thompson Twins, Bob Marley, Prince, Tom Petty. Those don't normally go together. They do in my house, but I'm a weirdo. And this sold for $66 for 70. They got less than $1 a piece. And what bummed me out for them is that Madonna one, it's got that gray border around it. That's a Korean import. That alone's worth like $15 to $18 just by itself. But most people are not looking for Public Enemy and Supertramp in the same collection. They're just not. So you can't hope that a bunch of me's are going to come by. You got to really put them in like groupings. And this one says 42 classic rocks. Okay, let me tell you who isn't classic rock that's in this grouping. I see Aretha Franklin, not classic rock. I see the Temptations, certainly not classic rock. I see the Commodores. Oh, they ain't classic rock. How about B.B. King? Not classic rock either. James Brown, no way. Fats Domino. There is less classic rock than there is actual classic rock in here. So this should have been a couple lots for sure. Classic rock would be Fleetwood Mac, Rolling Stones, Bob Seger, Jeff Beck, Eric Clapton, ZZ Top. Those go great together. Fats Domino, B.B. King, nice little blues lot. Commodores, Temptations, Lionel Richie, soul R&B lot. You know, so again, make sure when you're saying classic rock, it's actually classic rock. Aretha Franklin has never been considered classic rock. Now, how do you know if you should sell it solo or in groups? How do you get to the point where you're like, is this worth $20 or is this worth $1? Type or scan the UPC into eBay or Amazon. Above $10, do the solo. The rest you group. So when you type in the barcode of any product, but today we're talking about cassettes, you must type in the 2 control numbers. The control numbers are the small numbers on the outside of the actual barcode. So for instance, on this cassette, the first control number is a 0 and the last control number is a 2. So you would have to type all those numbers from the 0 to the 2. Now, sometimes there is no back control number. It is there, but they just didn't print it on the barcode. So what you have to do is you have to type in the numbers 07599253224 and then put in 0 and hit enter. If nothing comes up, delete that back 0, put in 1, hit enter. If nothing comes up, then go to 2 and 3 and 4 until you find the right one. And so for this one, it ended up being 2. So the second control number was a 2. That's the family. And as you can see, it's selling on eBay for $50. And as if you notice the price in the one I had, it was $2. Woo! Oh yeah, my fancy little arrow to show that the 2 was the final number. All right, tip number 8. Invest in a wireless scanner. Now, you can do all that typing. If you're good at the 10 keypad, I can do the 10 keypad because before scanners, I was typing all these numbers in. And as soon as I discovered a 10 keypad and stopped having to type numbers across the top, oh my God, it goes so fast. But get yourself a cordless scanner. It's Bluetooth, little thing plugs into your computer, and then you can scan from anywhere in the room. And let me show you how it works. So it's kind of like you're scanning in the store, but this is when you're at home getting ready to list. So you scan the barcode, and you've already got the cursor in the search bar in eBay, and then boom, there it is. Vanilla Ice to the extreme. As you can tell, Vanilla is one of my favorite artists. I use him quite often in my examples. So if you're going to be doing ones and twos, no big deal. If you're going to go buy a whole collection of CDs or cassettes, get yourself a scanner. You will thank me. You will thank me. All right. Tip number 9. Never, ever, 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 ever. Did I mention ever? Use the flash on your camera. And that goes for selling anything. Flash changes the color. You should never have your flash on. You should have good lighting. Look at this listing. What? If you look at the bottom, they don't even have any pictures of the cover, and they took a flash, and someone looked at this picture and went, yep, that's good. Here's another example. Look at this lot. Now, I want you to go 4 rows over, count 5 down, and read me cassettes 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. You can't, because someone used a flash. That does you no good. People want to look at the product. They can't see part of it. That's kind of a bummer from the buyer's end. All right, tip number 10. Where'd I get 7 from? Make your picture stand out in a crowd. So when I do groupings of cassettes, I don't do it like this. This is too, what's the word I'm looking for? Medical? This is too specific. It looks like you should do it this way. Make it a controlled little mess. Now, if you're buying a classic rock cassette and you know your classic rock albums, you're like, oh, in the lower left-hand corner, I can see that Santana's Greatest Hits. Ooh, that guitar neck sticking out above Foreigner, that's Jimi Hendrix. To the right of that, that's Nazareth. Ooh, I see Boston sticking out. Oh, I see me some Derek and the Dominoes. So it's kind of a controlled mess, but it's cool because it stands out when people are shopping on eBay, especially on their phone. They see everyone puts their things all together stacked up, but I make this nice, fun little mess. It definitely catches the eye better. Now, when I do solo cassettes, instead of putting the cassette strapping down like the rest of the world, my opening picture is on an angle. Again, when people are scanning down their phone, everyone's cassette is up and down, except me. I'm on the angle and I stick out. Then I do a second picture of the back squared up, and then I do a third picture of the cassette outside of the case so you can see the cassette. That's it. I only do 3 pictures because I do so many. I want to move them. Some of you like to do more? Great. Flip that cassette over, show both sides of the cassette. If you want to unwrap the cover and show what's inside, usually it's like lyrics and stuff. But for me, 3 and I'm done. I'm very happy with 3. All right, tip number 11. Keep your eyes open for cassettes that were released between 1999 and 2003. Cassettes that are those cassettes are worth a lot of money, but isn't true for their CD counterpart because we were in full CD swing and no one was buying cassettes anymore. So when someone wants that cassette nowadays, there just isn't a lot of options. So here are some examples. All right, this Nickelback CD, Silver Side Up. First one sold for 99 cents. Second one sold for $4.15. And the third one actually sold for 50 cents because it was 99 cents for 2 of them. So we're looking at an average here of about 2 1/4. Or you could sell a cassette for $15. I would never pick up that Nickelback CD to flip because no one cares. I don't want to waste time on $2 CDs, but I will sell $15 cassettes. Here's Britney Spears In the Zone. This sold millions. $1.26, $3.81, $4.99, looking at about an average of about maybe $3. Cassette average is $20. Here's 2 different sales in last month. $20 for Britney In the Zone on cassette. Black Eyed Peas, Elefungus. When Fergie joined the band, they became an instant smash. $1.53, $3.53, $1.79. Probably looking at an average of 2 1/4. Cassette, $22. Everyone knows Eminem. Most of you probably saw his movie 8 Mile. Look at that middle one. You could buy the CD brand new for $1.49, or the cassette, you could sell it for $22. As you can see, there's this great demand for that like 4-year period towards the end of cassettes. Here's Scarface. He's another one of the rappers in the Ghetto Boys that we talked about earlier. His album, The Fix, averages about $3 on CD, but on cassette, sold for, in very good condition, not even like new or new, $23. So the conditions are new, like new, very good, and good for the most part. And so you can command more money on the condition, the better the condition. Now, if you took the cassette webinar, this is a group and a specific release we talked about. The group is Twisted, and the release is called Most Tasteless. And right now, the CDs are selling in the $15 range. As you can see, there's 2 different covers for this album. Well, same thing on the cassette. They came out both times with both different covers. The one on the left sells for $36. The one on the right sells for $50. $50 for a cassette. All right, Tori Amos. This CD, hers, Scarlet's Walk, just sold for $1. Woo! And it's brand new. But guess what? If you found the cassette, $49. What? Get out. I'm out. Again, no one was buying this, especially this is 2002. There's like 7 people buying cassettes in 2002. So if you're one of those people and you still got your cassettes, you're sitting on a lot of money. Now, I'm sure none of you know Project Pat. I really don't know him other than I've sold this CD a few times. But CD sells on average for $15. Cassette, $75. And if you're excited by these prices, wait till you see the ones coming up. Who am I? Tool is an amazing, amazing band. This is their album Lateralus, average of about $5 on CD. How about an average of over 100 on a cassette? 108 and 130. The one person did it at auction, got to 108.50, and the other person did it by it now, 129.99. And that just sold this month. So crazy. All right, tip number 12. Pay attention to nuances. These 2 Kid Rocks are the exact same promo cassette, but as you can see in the one on the right, it's got a little bit of a different packaging. And besides a different packaging, the one on the right, they added some tour dates. So pay attention to the nuances. So here they are. This is just a regular Cassingle sleeve. If you've never seen a Cassingle, that's a Cassingle. This is what they call the cigarette pack. It opens like a cigarette. The few things that did come out in the cigarette pack, collectors like the cigarette pack better. So if we go back over here, the promo Cassingle in the regular sleeve sells for $18. And in the cigarette pack, 50, look at that, 50 and a 46. So it's the same exact music. The cassette itself looks no different. It's the packaging. So pay attention to nuances. Make sure that what you have is the prices you're seeing. Tip number 13. Cellophane is a game changer. If you find cassettes still sealed, you'd be buying ones you'd normally pass. Hey, look what we're talking about, Vanilla Ice. Used, $4.99. Sealed, $12. Now, $12 doesn't seem like a huge sale, but $5 to $12, that's more than double the price. I'll take it. Roger Waters' The Wall. This was after he left Pink Floyd. Used for $7.95. New for $24.48. And when I was putting this together, this is actually a good friend of mine. Some of you know him, Tony Boss. He sold this cassette for $25. And so I'm like, oh, so cool that I had somebody I knew their sale in my presentation. Mariah Carey Butterfly, like new, $5.50. Sealed, $25. But you want to pay attention to now, the next couple slides. Pictures are horrible. Look how much extra wasted space around the cassette there is. And you can see the shadow of the cell phone. Let's get better than that. Look at this Metallica. Okay, so they got this nice white bottom and background, but why are you so far away from Metallica? Get up on it. You don't need to see that empty space around it. But here's Kill 'Em All, the 1995 version for $8.50. Here's the 83 version for $50 because it's sealed. Da-da-da-da. And here's Judas Priest Painkiller, used for $4 or brand new for $21.24. That goes for CDs too. Yeah, and it's easy. You look at the tops of the cassettes or the CDs at the thrift store, and you can see the cellophane. So what I would do is I'd go through the sections first, grab out what you think you should grab out, do your research, and then go back through. Did you miss any sealed ones? Because that might be some money that you might normally not notice. All right, always, always, always skip country. Now, there are a few exceptions, but I couldn't even figure them out. I know there are, but I couldn't figure them out for this webinar. But look at this. 66 country cassettes sold for $9.99. and big names: Willie Nelson, George Strait, Ricky Skaggs. No one cares about country on cassettes. That's just a fact of life. I'm sorry, country fans. All right, tip number 14. Always read the liner notes. So always pull out the cassette. I mean, you already should have it open to look at the sponges there, and look at the liner notes, because you never know when you'll find them autographed on the inside. So Frontline Assemblies, just mainly 2 guys. And then here's their 2 autographs. So that definitely kicked up my price by about 20-25%. And I get this question every single time I talk about autographed anything. Jay, do I have to get it authenticated? All right, here's the deal. If you have a Mickey Mantle signed baseball or a Marilyn Monroe signed script, yes, you actually absolutely have to pay the money to get it authenticated, because there's great money in faking those autographs. However, there is no real money in faking the bass player of Frontline Assembly's autograph. And majority of the time, CDs and cassettes are autographed are either at in-store appearances or like after the concert when they're hanging out at the merch booth. So no one's busting your chops to prove that the bass player of Frontline Assembly actually signed this, because he did. All right, step 3, Holy Grails. Basically, what to look for. Okay, Jay, I don't know music as well as you. What should I look for? Tell me exactly. Hold my hand and take me down the path. All right. So the top 3 styles of music to look for are number 1, punk. Now, if you don't know what punk is, I would definitely go research after watching this. And that sounds kind of weird, but I taught a class once where a gentleman in my class who was just a little bit older than me, so he wasn't super old and he wasn't super young. We were talking about punk music on cassette and vinyl and stuff like that. And after I was done, he goes, "What's punk?" I go, like Sex Pistols or The Clash or The Ramones, Black Flag. He's like, "Yep, don't know any of those bands." He had never heard of the Sex Pistols, which my mom's 76. She knows who they are. She doesn't listen to them, but she knows who they are. But that's cool. If you don't know, that's cool. But go look up, there'll be websites. Hey, what's punk? So just so you have a working idea. So for example, Bad Brains was a punk band out of Washington, D.C. This cassette was called Yellow. It sells all the time. There's like 6 sold right now on eBay. So it tells me A, it's always selling for around $40, and B, it's out there. People are finding it. You should be the one finding it next. Speaking of Black Flag, Henry Rollins was a lead singer for a while in Black Flag. So if you sell one of the releases that has Henry as a singer, because he left the band, but he's famous in his own right. He's an actor. He's a spoken word guy that the spoken word tours. And so if Henry's in the band when you have one of their cassettes, put Henry Rollins in the title. But this one sold for $14. The Misfits, from the Misfits came the artist Danzig. This one sold for $25 Canadian, which is only $18.83 American. Here's another Black Flag that sold for $44.44. The Stooges, you might not know the Stooges, but you probably know Iggy Pop. If you don't think you know Iggy Pop, you know his song Lust for Life. I got a lust for life. It's been in like 10,000 commercials, and it was Carnival Cruises for a long time. But look at that, $46.71. It was only in very good condition. And No Effects is a little bit more current punk group. That one sold for $30. And last, Sham 69, 16 Great British Pounds, which is $20 American. All right, number 2, heavy metal. Heavy metal, and number 2, number 3 are the big where it's at. Heavy metal for sure. All right, so here's Pantera. Pantera were one of the biggest metal bands of all time. This is with their second release called Projects in the Jungle. Now, this just sold very good for $75. Pantera broke up. Their guitar player and the drummer were brothers. They formed a new band, and the guitar player got shot and killed on stage in Columbus about, 12 years ago. And so his brother went on to some other bands and actually lived here in Vegas. I run into him from time to time. And unfortunately, he passed away last year. And the night he passed away, I wasn't home, but I had this cassette. I hadn't listed it yet. So I called my wife. I go, "Hey, quick, take pictures like I like to take them." She sent them over to me. I listed it, went to sleep. I woke up, and I had sold it for $125. So again, the fact that he had just passed really kicks up the price. But still, even now, $75. And this person should have absolutely put a fresh case on it. We'll talk about that in a minute. Motorhead, we just talked about them a little bit ago. Here is their album No Remorse, the UK release, sold for $25 American. Here is Slayer's first US release on this little label called Enigma, in very good condition, sold for $50. Now, here's those 3 Iron Maiden cassettes. Two of the 3 are the same as the 3 some from Macari for $13, yet these sold for $35. So you could have bought those 3 off of Macari for $13 and put them right up on eBay and sold them for $35. That's easy. You ain't got to leave your couch. You don't got to leave your couch. If your mailman comes right to your door, you don't even have to leave your house to sell. All right, now when you really want to start paying attention is when you can't read the band name because of the font. That is death metal or black metal or thrash metal. So this is Dark Throne, sold for $40. That's their font, their logo. That does say Dark Throne, whether you can read it or not. You don't have to learn these bands or know these bands, but if you see a font that's screwy and with a pentagram in it, you should absolutely pick that up. Here's Mortician, sold for $40. That one's a little easier to read. Here is Mayhem. That one's a little trickier to read. $57. Here is Necrophobic. That one's kind of okay to read. $172. I'm going to let that sink in for a second. On cassette. We're talking cassettes. Here is Crematory. You cannot read that font. Sold for another $172. All right, now we're going to finish up with rap here. Now, most of you probably know the Fugees. This album, The Score, is one of the biggest selling hip-hop albums of all time. Another Diamond Award winner, sold over 10 million copies. But 96 was, cassettes were on their way out. CDs were on the way in. So right nowadays, you can only get like $2 for The Score on CD, but you can definitely get it for $20. Excuse me, you can sell it for $20 on cassette. Tribe Called Quest, a great rap group. Here is their Low End Theory, which was a huge album, sold for $27.50 on cassette and only good condition. So if that was like new, we're talking $40-$50 at this point. Another Tribe Called Quest, we got it from here. Thank you for your service. $50 in very good condition. And a Tribe Called Quest Midnight Marauders in just good condition for $35. Outcast from the great city of Atlanta, Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music, $47.50. Now, what I liked of what this seller did, the 2 guys in Outcast, they broke up, and they're famous in their own right. They become solo rappers. So it's Big Boy and Andre 3000. So I like the fact that they profiled both their names in the title because it gets more eyes on your products. And then Nas, we talked about him a little bit earlier. He's considered to be one of the greatest rappers of all time. Illmatic sold at 16 bids for $53. Now, we talked about the Beastie Boys. This was their second album, Paul's Boutique. It was a commercial failure at the beginning. It's so packed with samples. It's such an amazing album. It definitely has gotten its due as the years have went on. And they released it in a bunch of different colors. So the bottom one's in blue, the top one's in gray swirl. Collectors will want all the colors. So this is the type, most cassettes will usually come in just the same color for everybody. But when we see something like this, when there's a difference of colors, profile it, show it in the first picture because collectors will pay $50 for the blue, $60 for the gray swirl. Now, you're thinking, well, Jay, what the hell do you got a picture of tiki mugs in here for? If you're not a collector, I want to show you the mentality of a collector. This is the same mug 6 times. We own all 6 of these mugs because they're different colors. People need to own this cassette because it's different colors. Here's the same thing. This is 5 different versions of the same mug, but I got to have them all. That's how collectors think. So if you're not a collector, you don't think like that. So you got to think like that when you're selling. I would assume most of us know the Notorious B.I.G. He was killed tragically. Look at that. In good condition, 23 bids, $105. Now, for my corner of the world, Cleveland, Bone Thugs and Harmony were a rap group. Before they were called Bone Thugs and Harmony, they were called Bone Enterprises, and this album is called Faces of Death. So this was their first release. On CD, it's worth a good amount of money, but look at this cassette. $250. $250. How crazy is that? All right. Do y'all know the Wu-Tang Clan? They actually got a documentary series right now. I think it's on Showtime. It's called Of Mics and Men. I've only watched the first one, but it's really, really good. You know how super groups come to be, like 2 bands break up and then some members of one band join the other band? So Rage Against the Machine was an amazing band. The lead singer didn't want to tour anymore. So the bass player, the guitar player, the drummer said, we got to do something because we're not done touring. We like touring. And then Soundgarden broke up. So Chris Cornell was lead singer and they joined a band and it was called Audioslave. So that's called a super group. Well, these 9 guys in the Wu-Tang Clan, they all grew up near each other. They were friends before they became the Wu-Tang Clan, but they started out as a super group. Every one of these MCs is amazing in his own right, and together they're amazing, solo they're amazing. And so keep your eyes open for anything related to Wu-Tang Clan. Now, I would go, after we're done listening to me, go look up the Wu-Tang Clan and really look at the names of the members so you understand them. So here's their first album, 36 Chambers, Enter the Wu-Tang. Used in very good condition, sold for $41. RZA, he has an alter ego as Bobby Digital. His cassette, as you can see, it's in the cigarette pack, sold for $39.99. They didn't mention cigarette packs, so you definitely want to mention that. Ghostface Killer, his sold for $20. And what happens on these Wu-Tang solo albums, other members come guest rap, they guest produce, so they're all working on each other's stuff. So when you see, like this one put RZA in the title, so RZA produced Ghostface Killer's record. So of course they want to throw some more bonus keywords. So you put RZA in your title. This was Wu-Tang's second release, Wu-Tang Forever, just sold like new for $35. Raekwon, his obviously didn't sell well at the beginning to command $145 now. It's called Only Built for Cuban Links. But man, I want to find this Raekwon now, $145. Old Dirty Bastard has passed away, so you'll never see anything new from him. And he was kind of like the comic relief of the Wu-Tang Clan. Brand new, sold for $40. Here's another Ghostface Killer, sold for 40 Canadian, 30 US. Jizza Liquid Sword, sold for $20. You God, of all the guys, You God is probably the least known. As you can see, his only sold for 14, but it is in good condition, and they did it at auction. I would probably put it at a buy now for $29.99. And I didn't even know who Shaheem was. I don't even remember Shaheem the Rugged Child, but it says it's another Wu-Tang thing right on the sticker, and this sold new for $32. So you see Wu-Tang written on it, or Wu Sound, grab it. All right, so the others that don't fit into this, but I just want to profile a few other things. Frank Zappa had a heck of a catalog when he was alive, and I've seen this one sell multiple times in the last 6 months, so that means it's out there to be found. Zappa, the Best Band, $120. Now, I'm sure most of you don't know who Glingo, all of you don't know who Glingo is, but you might know who Bjork is. If you don't know Bjork by her name, she's this little pixie-looking woman from Iceland, and she wore a dress that looked like a swan to the Grammys like 15 years ago, and then Ellen DeGeneres wore it on her show. So this was her jazz band, and this didn't hardly sell on cassette at all. And so now if you find it, it's a $100 cassette. I threw it in there just to show you that there's all these weird things that sell for big money too. Hum was a one-hit wonder in the 90s. I am so shocked by this one. Again, must not have sold a cassette hardly at all. $67 with 25 bids. I'm sure we all know The Shining and this soundtrack in very good condition. 8 bids, $90. Now, there are some current Transformer movies done by Jerry Bruckheimer, currently starring Marky Mark, that are just, but the best Transformer movies was a cartoon movie from '86. The CD's actually worth some money because it's out of print, but the cassette's worth even more. Now, if you look, the person who sold it in April for $75 obviously left a lot of money on the table, since the person who sold it in May sold it for $155. So the person in May might have got lucky, or the person in April didn't do their due diligence in their research. Don't ever short sell yourself. You might have to wait a little bit longer, but if you can wait a little longer and double your money, why wouldn't you? I'm sure we all know Smokey and the Bandit. This was only in good condition, and it sold for $20. And funny enough, when I added this to the presentation a couple days ago, Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2, my wife and I went to bed watching Part 5. If you've never seen Part 5, it's awesome because it has Matthew McConaughey and what the hell's her name? Renee Zellweger. Thank you. It's crazy. It's crazy to see those two huge stars in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 5. But look at this. This person didn't even take the time to put the picture the right side up. They only took one picture, and they got $50 for it. And this cassette came out in '86. All right, another thing to look for is imports. Journey's Frontiers on the U.S. release would not be worth your time as a solo. It'd be okay in a group. But when you find the Japanese import, boom, $20 in very good condition. Here's Kiss, Argentina release, $30 and very good. And what's cool is it's written in Spanish. This is one of mine. This was a Mexican import of Motley Crue, Girls, Girls, Girls. I sold it for $35. Here's a Metallica import from Thailand for their live at Wembley Stadium, sold for $35. Back to Japanese. Here's Def Leppard, sold for $100 in very good condition. And here we are, Tool. Tool again. This was their first full release, Enema. Korean import, 4 bids, $106. And I know y'all know U2. Here's a promo Canadian sampler, 29 bids, sold for $170 US. $171. What? Now, remember the Madonnas I said are worth $350 a piece? Here's the exception. When you find a cool promo import, as you see in the upper left here, it says promotional use only, was released in the UK, and it said Madonna Is That Girl to commemorate the 1987 World Tour. So this was never a release that was sold. $250 one bid. And then here's Madonna's album True Blue in the Japanese version. It was also a promo, $321. Speaking of promos, music comes out of the record company. It is sent to record stores and radio stations in hopes that they get played and they either make it on the radio or get sold in the record store. So when promos go out, they're, 50 or 100 or maybe 200, but that's it. They're not things you could buy. So the drummer of Nirvana, Dave Grohl, when Kurt killed himself, he wasn't done making music, and he started a band called Foo Fighters. And on the first album, he played every instrument. He didn't actually have a band. So this was the first promo that was sent out, and as you can see, it sold for $50. Disturbed was a metal band that came out back in the early 2000s, and this was the promo, like a single, had 4 songs that was sent to record stores to put out to give to people for free to whet their appetite for this new band coming out. The black cover sold for $22. The next day, the white cover sold for $51. I don't know if the white cover is that much more desirable, or people who are like, oh crap, I missed the black one. I better hurry up and bid on the white one. So you keep your eyes open. Again, it's the nuances. Pay attention to the nuances. When Slipknot came out in the late 90s, this was the promo they sent out to record stores across the country just to hand out to the customers to hopefully get them excited about this new band out of Iowa. Sold 8 bids, $27.66. If I would have realized all these years later it'd be worth $30 a pop, I would have kept the box that I opened. Because I remember where I was the day I opened this box. I was standing in Parma Heights, Ohio, working for the Record Exchange. I opened this box and went, who are these guys wearing masks? And I put it out on the table. And then, as the day went on, some people were like, I'll try this for free. Sonic Youth is a 90s alternative band. This was their promo for their album Goo on the David Geffen Company before it just turned to Geffen Records. Sold for $40. Blink-182 is a more current punk band. Their promo sold for $93, 10 bids. Now, I don't expect you to find all these, but I want you to see the look at what promos look like, because you never know when you're going to end up at a garage sale or an estate sale for someone who worked for a record label. It's happened to me many times. Bare Naked Ladies, Canadian band. This was their first before they even came out. This was their first promo, $80. And I was already done with the presentation. And the night before I was giving it, Monday night, I saw this No Doubt promo show up. I'm sure you all know Gwen Stefani. $450, 5-song demo. And demo means, demo is different than promo. Demo means they did this themselves, and then they handed it out to record labels and people, hoping that someone would hear them and go, hey, these guys are good. We should give them a record deal. However, even though they got $450 and they did put Gwen Stefani in the title, the one thing they missed is see the drawings of the band. Gwen's brother at this time was in the band. His name is Eric Stefani. He left as soon as they got hired to a major because he was an animator and he drew for Ren and Stimpy and The Simpsons. So he's famous in his own world, and people be like, oh, cool. Not only is this this early No Doubt, but it's got Eric Stefani drawings in it. So very cool. So that'd be something you would definitely want to highlight. All right, audiophile. If you took my CD class, there was these higher end CDs. Well, the same company made cassettes. So here's Lee Ritenour. Lee Ritenour cassette wouldn't get you any money, really, but the audiophile cassette sealed, $57.88. Here is Frank Sinatra, $68.88, 7 bids. Hey, Billy Idol sold for more than Frank. That's awesome. Billy Idol, $70 for a cassette. Beach Boys sold for $88.77. Beatles sold for almost $90. Cream, $122. And then wait for it, Jethro Tull sold for $213. That blew my mind. So that sold for more than Beach Boys, more than Frank Sinatra, more than the Beatles. Jethro Tull on high fidelity cassette, $213. Okay, now it's time to show you silly money. So you really get excited. I would hope you're excited by now, but this is now crazy money. Deaton Chris Anthony, he's a new artist. You wouldn't know him. But what I liked was someone found his cassette because he released his album on cassette in 2015 in a thrift store and took the picture in the thrift store. Sold for $244. Mr. Bungle has the same lead singer as the band Faith No More. This was their demo tape, sold for $305. All right, here's Metallica's No Life to Leather, the actual original release, $350 in very good condition. As you can see, most of these, if not all, are at auction. Now, Truth or Dare is a band you have never heard of. I have never heard of. If you were into heavy metal, especially hair metal in the 80s, you had your top tier, your level A, that's Poison, that's Motley Crue, that's Bon Jovi. Then you had your B level, that's like Quiet Riot, LA Guns. And then you had your C level, like Danger, and Tora. And then you had this level. No one ever heard of them, but people love these artists that never got beyond this cassette. And so they collect them. They collect them because they want all these rare, weird artists. $384. Now, Dave Grohl, before he put out the Foo Fighters thing, he put out just a solo thing called Pocket Watch, $500. $500. Buckethead is an artist that most of you probably never heard of. He's a guitar player. He was in Guns N' Roses for quite a while. Here is 6 of his cassettes that he put out when he was playing shows. He'd make his own cassettes, $535. And I wanted to show you Buckethead just so you guys get a good laugh. This is how Buckethead always looks. This white mask and a KFC chicken bucket on his head. That's how he always plays. I just can't even imagine how uncomfortable it has to be and how hot it has to be. All right, Death is one of those death metal bands, hence the name Death. But this was their demo cassette that they sent out in hopes of getting signed. So they were just making their own copies and sending it out with a little letter introducing Death, $595. Ween had one hit in the 90s called Pushing Up the Daisies. This was 2 of their early cassettes, 30 bids, $550. And then here is one of their other cassettes they put out themselves, $611. This would be the kind of thing before they got signed to a major. You'd be at a concert, and you go back to the merch booth, and you're like, hey, want to buy a cassette for $6? This was probably $6 when it first came out, now selling for $611. Now, here's the original Sublime Job Won't Pay the Bills, $600. Now, this was in 2014. Because it was re-released, I would think it would soften it a bit, but people like the originals, and Sublime got signed to a little label called Gasoline Alley, but it was part of MCA Records. But before they got signed there, they were on a label called Skunk Records. You can see it on the cassette. Anything by them on Skunk Records, collectors want. So keep your eyes peeled for Skunk Records when it comes to Sublime. Now, before Eminem got signed by Aftermath, which is Dr. Dre, on Interscope Records, which is Jimmy Iovine, he was on this little unknown Web Entertainment right out of the big mecca of entertainment, Ferndale, Michigan. So he was releasing a Slim Shady EP, but this was the promo for the EP. 4 tracks sold for $800. Only 150 of them were ever made. Oasis, or an English band, they had 2 major hits, Champagne Supernova and Wonderwall. This was their demo. They would shop around saying, hey, you want to give us a record deal? $915. And then this is Sean Dawdle and Friends, and it's sold for $1,000. And you're like, who in the hell is Sean Dawdle? And if you look at the case, it just says SD and his friends. So here's what's rare about it. It has Chester Bennington. Now, Chester Bennington was the lead singer in Linkin Park, became a huge band, took his own life about 2 years ago, unfortunately. And this was a record cassette done in Phoenix. And guess what? Half of the 200 that were made sat in a car in Arizona in the summer and got destroyed. So at that point, we're down to 100. And who knows of those 100, how many are left. So if you happen to find this, it is a $1,000 cassette. But wait, we're not even to the big ones yet. It's crazy. All right, Marilyn Manson, when he first came out, he was called Marilyn Manson and the Spooky Kids. And this was the demo tape that he shopped around. Pretty nice packaging for a demo tape. And that would definitely catch my eye. $1,025. Remember, we talked about Tool a couple times already. This was their original demo. $1,650. Now, this is a weird one because you wouldn't really think about it. Beatles from 1984 cassette. You're like, $2,500. So it was in this weird slide out box with this paper covering. It didn't work out real good for this whole contraption. There was a couple different cassette contraptions they tried. The paper cover got torn up too easily. And so they're really, really hard to find. And as you can see, the condition wasn't great, but it still sold just last year for $2,500. All right, now Madonna, $6,400. So she made her demo tape so rudimentary. She sang into her boombox, cassette player, whatever she had. She hand wrote it out and then handed them all over New York City. And someone 10 years ago auctioned them off and got $6,400 at Julian's Auctions. And then Prince, this is even crazier. So Prince had an album called the Black Album. It was supposed to come out in the early 80s. For whatever reason, he said, Warner Brothers, I don't want to put this out, scrap it. He demanded Warner Brothers destroy everything. And there was cassettes and records. And this one cassette survived and sold for $7,000 2 years ago on eBay. Now, will we ever find another one of these? Probably not. But again, I want you to see what demos and promos look like, because I had a friend at a house that was cleaning out, and it was an employee from Capitol Records, and my friend handed me a Beatles butcher cover to sell, still sealed. So you never know when that's going to happen. But if you don't have the knowledge in your brain, you would never really pause and think about it and think, oh, I should be buying these. All right. So if people are buying cassettes, they have to play them on something, right? Absolutely. All right. Let's talk home stereos. Cassette players are on the rise because cassettes are on the rise. Here's a vintage realistic that sold for $40. Here's a vintage JVC that sold for $55. Now, I'm going through these kind of quick, and you might be saying to yourself, well, shit, Jay, how do I learn these? You need to be able to do two things: read and plug it into a power source. Plug it in, see if it turns on, and then go to your eBay app. All you got to do is put in the brand, JVC, and the model number, TD-W709, and go to solds. If you're seeing good money, buy it. That's all you need to know. That is all you need to know on any electronics, really. Here is a Techniques that sold for $68. Here is a Nakamichi that sold for $75. Look at that. They're so lazy. They put Nakamichi 480Z. They didn't even put cassette player in their title. Here's a vintage TIAC that sold for $125. Here's a TIAC Z5000 that sold for $1,000. $1,000. Here's a Sony EL7 sold for $1,000. Now, obviously, these are very high-end ones, but they're not made anymore. So if you find them at an estate sale at a garage sale, you're putting $1,000 in your pocket. Techniques RS7500, $1,100. And a TIAC Z5000, $1,200. So keep your eyes peeled. Now, boom boxes. I played with mine right at the beginning, but mine's not huge, but look at it. 3 cassettes. When was the last time you saw a 3 cassette boombox? Never. I got one. All right. Boomboxes have always been good money in the resale market, but they're really going up now. Again, all you got to do is plug in Sony CFS-500, go to solds. You'll see what they're selling for. Sold for $108. Here is, this, you could definitely tell this was marketed to a girl in the 80s. It's like a light peach. It's not a real big boombox, but $107 still. Now we're getting a little bit bigger, $295. Now I had this almost exact Panasonic boombox in my car because my stereo broke. So instead of fixing it, I just put my boombox in the middle, and it took 8 or 10 D batteries, and I didn't have a rear view mirror because I knocked it off. So one time I'm taking some buddies back to college, and we're just rocking hard like some Iron Maiden, and I happen to look in my side mirror, and I see that there's a cop following me with lights and sirens. He had been following me for 5 minutes because I didn't have a rearview mirror and I had the music so loud I didn't hear him. Yeah, he was not too happy and gave me a really large ticket. Just a fun little side story. Here's a Sharp that sold for $400. Here's a Sharp 767, $900. Look at the speakers. So now we're at the point where if you watch any of the hip hop and the rap and the breakdance movies of the 80s, these are the boom boxes you saw in there, and these are the ones that are command the most money. Here's a Lasonic. I don't even remember this brand. $1,200, but you definitely saw this boom box in every rap movie, and especially this boom box too, this Elta. $2,500. So this is the kind of thing where if you saw this at a sale for $500, you should absolutely get out $500 and go get this. And here's a JVC M90, $2,800. Isn't that crazy? All right, so if you don't want to have everyone listen to your music, you want to listen to it by yourself, on the go. All right, Sony Walkman, $695. Now you see how they put Guardians of the Galaxy in the title? This is the Walkman that Star-Lord listened to. Now this one didn't even have any headphones. It was just a Walkman. They got $695 for it. Here's one with the headphones. They did put it at auction, so it ends where it ends. They got $610 for it. This Walkman's from '79. Here's one complete with the box and the leather crossbody case, $1,000. I hope your mind is exploding right now. And when I was doing this presentation, I didn't know Walkman made a boombox. Well, it's not really a boombox. It's a really small, thin one, but I didn't know they made this. But still, $450. I am going to keep my eyes out for that. Now, the sport one is where my wife had one. Anyone who ran or participated in sports, it was kind of sweat-proof, kind of jiggle-proof. And here's one that just sold for $200, 12 bids. And Marisha, in the thrifting board, just found this at a garage sale for $5 the other day. This is her listing at $191. And she said, Jay, she's getting a little impatient. It's only been like 2 days. She goes, what should I do about my price? I said, well, the last one, the exact same last one sold for $220. So I would raise your price of nothing. This is when they added mega bass to Walkmans. Mega bass. All right, step 5. They have the tapes. They have a way to play them. But now where do they store them? Well, of course, if you're going to store them at home, you're going to be buying one of two things. Peaches made these boxes that held 8 tracks or cassettes, and they also made some boxes that held 45s. As you can see, the Peaches sticker on the side was pretty worn out, and they got $24 for it. I picked this up for $25 at a garage sale. Yay! Prices my mom gets. And I'm using it, but I could flip this for about $30 on eBay. And again, at garage sales, ain't no one thinking their old cassette holder is worth any money. No one is thinking that. But what you're looking for really is the Napa Valley boxes. So this one holds like 32, sold for $30. And what you're going to look for on the side is it says Napa Valley. Now, it's not always dark brown. Sometimes it's just imprinted in the wood, so you got to just read it. But people look for these Napa Valley ones. And as you can see, the 100 count ones sell for $49, $49, $50. So that's the going rate for the 100 count. However, if you got 4 together, this seller got $250. Now, if you're going to sell multiples of anything in one listing, have the first shot showing all 4. Now, you don't have to have them all lined up. You could have them just kind of like, stacked, just so they're all peeking out, because most buyers don't get past picture number 1. And then when I was working at the record stores back in the 90s, we sold a lot of laser line stuff. Here, this is just cheap plastic with some holes to hang on your wall. But look, they hold 100, sold for $45. Now that's when you're at home. What if you're on the go? All right, so this is the vintage faux alligator cassette holder for hold 30 cassettes, sold for $35. I have one right here because they didn't have a good picture of it. Look how nice this is. Oh, look how pretty. So keep your eyes peeled for those. And the nicer the condition, the more money you'll get too. The one in this listing was okay, but not the greatest. Mine are shiny like they're brand new. And then we sold a ton of these Case Logics that hold 120 cassettes. I had one in the backseat of my car. Did you? I had a Dodge Daytona, and it was full of cassettes. And then they also had these double-sided. This was a little bit older. This was like 70s. It's more like a briefcase. Still, holds 120, sold for $100. All right, let's step 6. But do they still want to make the good old mixtapes? Jason's Jams number 3. Yes, they do. Blank cassettes sell very well. You can find them at thrift stores, and typically you want to find them in the bricks still. Now, as you can see, 290 sold for $300. They got $1 a piece. But if you picked them up for a nickel a piece or a dime a piece or a quarter piece, that's pretty good money. The one below, 110 sold for $3.15, so they were getting $3 a piece for those. And then here's how tapes are. This is kind of a nerd part to it, but I want to tell you. So Type O was the way tapes first came out, the original tapes. There, you don't see those anymore. Type 1 is the standard tape that most were released in. A little bit better tape is the chrome Type 2, and then the best is the metal tape, where it actually has metallic particles actually in the tape. So when you find the metallic tapes, they're worth crazy money. So here's 78 Denons sold for $1,200. So that's $17 a piece. But pretty much anything made in Japan people want. Here are 10 Teok metallic tapes from Japan, 10 that sold for $870. And I have found metal tapes in cassette and thrift stores. We've had other members of the thrifting board find them in thrift stores. They're out there. Just watch for them to say metal. And tip number 15, the most important tip, is buy some fresh cases, because a fresh case changes it so much. So here is the Thompson twins. Look how disgusting and cracked it is. But when you put a fresh case on it, oh, look how nice it is now. Look at that. It's like brand new. It's so pretty. All right, the top 5 reasons selling cassettes is more awesome than anything else. And we're going to wrap up on this and then take your questions. They are, number one, they're everywhere. Garage sales, thrift stores, antique malls, record stores, your childhood bedroom, they are everywhere. Number 2, they can be alphabetized on your shelf, so it's super duper easy to pull when they are sold. If you're selling jeans, you can't really alphabetize them. You just got to put them in a tub and then go find them. If you're selling t-shirts, you can group them by color, but you really can't alphabetize them. Cassettes, long as you know the rules of alphabetizing, super duper easy to pull it. And these are my shelves right here. So also, when you buy a lot of collections, sometimes you get the Napa Valley cassette holders. So they're I got those with some collections. And like I said before, it's one of the only products that you can change the housing on to make it look brand new. So here's my Vanna White example of how disgusting the Thompson twins looked in the disgusting case. I get a brand new, fresh, clear case. I stick it in there, and we go from gross looking to look how pretty. I'm gonna give Vanna a run for her money. All right, number 4, you really only need 3 picks, 2 if it's still sealed, so you can get through them kind of quick. And number 5, shipping takes no time at all. They all weigh 4 ounces when wrapped in cardboard to protect them and slide into a number 0 bubble mailer. And let me demonstrate how that works. You just take a little piece of cardboard that's just a little bit longer than the cassette, take a piece of tape, stick it on there so it holds it in place, take your number 0 bubble mailer and stick it in, and that's it. Now, when you're shipping breakables and big things like my mom and dad sell, it's a lot more work. So you got to have a higher profit margin. You don't have to have as high a profit margin on a product. You just drop in an envelope and go. Got to remember, your time's worth money. So if you can do things quicker, your margins don't have to be as big. And who knows what reference that's from. So now it's time for Q&A. I did my little shot the other day, thanks to my wife, and I saw you guys had tons of questions. So let's get right to them, shall we? Robin's got a great question. Do you listen to all the cassettes before listing? I know the answer already, but just for everyone else. I love that. I know the answer, but I'm going to ask anyway. All right, so I figured it out one time. I've been selling CDs, cassettes, records, and movies, DVDs, and VHS since for 19 years, 19 years and 3 months. If I listened and watched every piece of media I have sold in those 19 years, it would take me 53 years, 24 hours a day. So, of course, the answer is no. You do the visual grading like I showed you. And if you got a boombox and say you maybe got a $100 cassette, you might want to pop that in and listen to it. But when you're selling the groupings and you're going to get like $2 a cassette, don't waste your time. Now, will you get a customer who will write you back and say, hey, this was supposed to be Def Leppard, and someone record their kid doing the Pledge of Allegiance over top of it? That'll happen. It's happened to me. But you sell somebody without hiccups, that the few that have hiccups, just refund their money and move on. So maybe spot check the $100 ones. Does it have a name like the felt thingy? No, it's just the, oh crap, I had it ready. Oh, here it is. I bought them off of eBay. It's just called cassette tape felt pads. And so they come just like this. So just type in cassette tape felt pads. Thank you, Jenny. How do you tell if the pad should be replaced? typically I just replace the ones that are gone. So, they could get a little worn out, but I don't go looking that hard for them. And I never have people complain after the fact. But if I buy it and I didn't notice it right away and the pad's gone, then I put a fresh one in. What about tapes that have been in a smoker's house? Is that a deal breaker? 100% of the time, yes. That ain't coming out. Because, sometimes you could get it out of paper or cardboard, but it's inside the tape. It's inside the tape. And so you can't get it out. So even if they're amazing, just leave them behind. Yeah, the VH1 that sells for $35, it is their greatest hits. Again, that was towards the end of cassette. So I was pleasantly surprised the first time I found the Van Halen greatest hits and it sold for $35. I'm like, what? Cool. I found it again, sold for $35. So I know that's my going rate. Has Taylor Swift come out with a cassette yet? That's a great question because when you do talk about Taylor and other things, she's got some great CDs that are worth crazy money, and she puts out vinyl. I don't think she's put out any cassettes. But if this trend continues, I bet she does. All right, so Kim's got a great question. I get this one all the time on all music. We found a cassette that was listed on Amazon for $61, but only $17 on eBay, no solds. We cannot sell on Amazon, so my question is, how do we price it for eBay to get a good amount? So if you've never sold on Amazon music, you won't be able to. If you've been selling for a while, you might be able to sell some of it and not all of it. So what you would do is take your cassette, get your barcode scanner, go to Amazon and scan that barcode in. If it says restricted, that of course means you can't sell it. If it doesn't, it means you can. And some people, they can sell some and not others. So always check there. For the most part, you can get more money on Amazon. Now, if you've got a cassette that's $60 and 17 on eBay, of course, you have to go with the eBay price. But you also could try and shine it up and sell it in lots or on local apps and really profile it. So if you can't sell on Amazon, you got to just stay with the eBay prices. And so in this case, you said there's a 17 on eBay. You got to make sure you're comparing apples to apples. Is yours like new and theirs was good? Do you have a return policy and they don't? So you got to start with the price, but then you got like an onion. You got to peel the layers back. Make sure you're comparing all apples to apples. If I'm offering 60-day free returns and they're saying, screw you, no returns, I'll get sales way more than them. So I'm going to charge a little bit more. And that's how you pay for free returns. You charge more. There's your key. How do you get ungated to sell cassettes on Amazon? You don't. Sorry. Next question. Their gating of music has gotten weird. I lucked out. I've been selling on Amazon for like 16 years. And so I'm pretty much ungated and everything. So I'm very thankful. Is there any place we can look up artists to find out what genre they are? I'm pretty music stupid. Okay. So I got 3 places we go to, and I have my assistant go to when they're doing music with me. Allmusic.com has every artist ever, for the most, almost every artist ever that put out music. And then when you get to their page, you'll have all their albums, and you can click on the albums and get more information. Discogs, www.discogs.com, DICSOGS. That is a place that gives you, again, the same kind of profile, but buy and sell on Discogs. And that's a place anyone can sell. And it has prices of what things are selling for. And what's nice on Discogs is we all know the album, the White Album by the Beatles. If you go to Discogs, there are 438 versions of the White Album. And so when you have a specific cassette, a specific record, a specific CD, it doesn't just say Beatles White Album on vinyl. It'll give you all 438 versions. So you got to find the version that you have based on the code on the side and the catalog code. And then it'll show you, okay, is this the rare one worth $50 or is this the common one worth $1? And then Wikipedia. Wikipedia is a quick place to type in a band name and it'll say jazz or jam band or whatever. So that's a good quick place to get what a band is. What is the cost of the scanner I use? Here's the brand, and I'm not shilling for this brand, and I've had others in the past I didn't like. This is the current one I own, and it works really good. It works like 90% good. It's called Terra, and it was like $35. The first load you do, it's so worth it. Greg's got a great question. Great. How do you describe the cassette? What's the difference between each? Okay, so there's 3 parts to a cassette. There's the case, which when you're selling the solos, always put fresh cases on. When you're selling the groupings and you're selling like 60 classic rocks, unless the case is disintegrating and falling apart, just leave the cases they came in. Mention cracked cases, dirty cases. Excuse me. People who are buying lots to listen to in their 1972 pickup truck, they don't much care about the condition of the cases. They just want to listen to music. People who are buying rare cassettes want to look pretty. So there'll be 3 conditions: the case itself, the insert. So this one is, no one's ever opened this. This is so tight and crisp. And then the cassette itself. So the thing to look for on the cassette condition is, did someone's greasy fingers start to wipe off the wording on here? If it's starting to be missing, then you have to go to very good or good. Unless the band autograph that someone else wrote in here, like, oh, my favorite song, that's part of the condition too. This, when you're selling solos, should never be anything other than excellent. You're exhausted from copy and pasting questions. Stacy just went, all right, Beth's got a great question. What about the original case, such as the funky green case for the Tales from the Crypt? Should you replace a cracked one for a clear case? That'd be the only time I wouldn't. A few cassettes came out in these color-specific cases because it kind of went with the theme of the cassette. Same thing with CD. Sometimes the trays are color-specific, and that's a great example. The Tales from the Crypt has a green tray. So if you get a cassette that you're going to sell and you're going to flip out the case, and it came in a colored case like green or red or yellow, and it doesn't really matter for the one that you had, set that to the side. Wait till you need that one for something else later. Because you might be able to find some on eBay, but I don't really think they're producing colored cassette cases. I might be wrong, but man, it's just clear for the most part. But great question. Wait. Nope, I am going in order. What do you think I skipped? Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I did miss some. I don't know how that happened. Let's see here. John, using the Pandora music service can help group too. Yeah. So if you go to Pandora, they'll tell you, all right, so stop typing things. That's the problem. It keeps kicking it up and I keep missing. So no more questions. I know. I'm just saying, stop typing for now. All right. So that's our problem. It kept kicking it up and I kept missing. So Pandora will okay, if you're listening to 10 cc's, they'll say, oh, you'll like the band Bread and you'll like the band 10 years after. So to help you put your groupings together. So that's a great tip from John. Thanks, John. Would you say it's worth the time to look up soundtracks? Yes. Did you see the soundtracks I showed you? Shining, $90. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, $50. Horror tends to do pretty well, but even Smoking the Bandit was $20. Do you buy singles? Anything different we should be looking for when buying them? So most singles aren't worth your time, but you should look them up because right before we went live, we saw a Eminem single that sold for $33. And so, yeah. But if it's like Madonna's Hanky Panky, she sold 1 million on single. So they're not uncommon, but you just got to look. So if it's something that seems a little odd or you don't know it, then look it up for sure. Does it say metallic on them? Yep. It'll say metallic right in the case, metallic tapes. Great question. What about holiday cassettes? I have yet to find any good holiday cassettes. I tried my hand at Christmas last year because y'all know I'm the king of selling Christmas CDs. I also have some Christmas CD webinars. The Christmas cassettes, I sold 0. So I'm not even going to look at them this season because maybe there's 1 or 2 that are worth some time, but to sell none, and I listed maybe a dozen or 15 good ones that always sell well on CD. That's what the ones I tried on cassette. Nothing. Nada. What basic keywords has to be used in each eBay title each time to sell cassettes? Well, obviously the artist, the album title, the word cassette. You don't need tape. And then not much else, because when someone's looking for Bon Jovi Slippery When Wet, they're just typing Bon Jovi Slippery When Wet cassette. But you got some space. So what I would do is if you know the hit songs off that album, put a couple in the title. Because someone looking for it might go, I want that album with You Give Love a Bad Name on it, but I don't know which album it's on. And some people just forget to Google. So put that in your title too. If you don't know what were the hit songs on it, again, if you go to like the Wikipedia page for this album, it'll say the first single released was this. The second single released was this. It'll tell you all that. So makes it easy. Any value in audiobooks on cassettes? Any money-making authors or titles to look out for? For the most part, not anymore. A few money-making, like, I'll teach you how to flip real estate. Because so much of it got put on the CD, the cassette versions just aren't really worth it anymore. You can look them up, and for the most part, they'll scan, just like I showed you. So you can scan them in the cassette in the thrift store. Do all record clubs have the double red line? Nope. Columbia House, they made it on OK Tape, so that's why I didn't even mention them. It was just specifically. Where'd it go? Where'd my Kenny Rogers go? I mean, it has to be sitting here. I haven't moved in the middle of giving this webinar. Oh, that's crazy. Kenny's gone. Kenny flew the coop. Yeah, it's just the one with the two red lines. That's the only ones you're really skipping. Are non-Napa Valley wood cases worth much? Were some, but Napa Valley tends to be the brand that people look for, and it's the most common. So you won't find too many non-Napa Valley ones. Does Discog show cassettes as well? Yes, it does. Do we use the keyword obi with the Japanese import cassettes like the CDs? So the obi is the thin strip of paper along the side of records, CDs, and cassettes. So yes, Japanese releases of cassettes would have the obi when it was new. So if it's still there, mention it. And it has the lyrics written in Japanese as an added extra inside the cassette. Same with CDs, same with records. So if you sell Japanese imports on any medium and it's got the OB, mention it. And if it's got the insert lyric sheet, mention that too. Yeah, I answered that. Yeah. I said like real estate flipping and Tony Robbins. Yeah, all that stuff, Tony Robbins. Check it, scan it. But for the most part, they've all been moved to CDs. So this is the case where people don't look for the cassettes. They will look for the CDs though, for sure. Do you do free shipping on cassettes? Do you ship media or first class? And finally, can blank cassettes be shipped media? Okay, so I use first class shipping for all my media, CDs, records, because most records, even packed right, come in at right under 16 ounces, and cassettes first class mail because they'll show up better in search, and I charge for it. So I charge $3.99 for a cassette first class. I charge $4.99 for a CD and $6.99 for a record, and I sell a ton of them. So I charge for it so I don't lose money. But if I'm going first class, someone else is going media mail, mine will show up higher in the ranking. And no, you cannot ship. That's a great question. I'm sure you just threw it out there because people ask this all the time. You cannot ship blank media mail because there's no media yet. There ain't no media on here. It's empty. All right, what else we got? Any value in used blank tapes? Nope. No, because when people can sell these for $1 a piece, what would the value be in a used blank one? There isn't any. So don't. Okay, here's the exception. If you've had metal blank cassettes, heck yeah, people will still pay good money for those. Christian music, Hawaii, comedy, disco, or soft rock? Are they worth looking for? Oh, I love that question. For the most part, disco, maybe. Soft rock, disco and soft rock in groupings, absolutely in groupings. There's not going to be a lot of disco and soft rock that are going to be $40 cassettes on their own. Hawaii, actually, a good grouping of Hawaii by themselves would not be. Comedy, there's not a lot of comedy. Dr. Demento on cassette would be okay, but again, look for it. And then Christian music, religious music of any type on cassette just does not do well. So I just steer clear of it. And again, like the country, there might be one or two exceptions, but they're so few and far between. I wouldn't waste my time. If I saw a bunch of country, I just keep on moving. It wouldn't waste my time to get through 500 country cassettes to find one good one. Okay, so that's a great question. We actually talked about in the group today. What if I was replacing this tape and I had to replace the case? This came in clear front, beige back. Sometimes they're black, sometimes they're red. So when I put it in a brand new case, it looks nice, but it doesn't have the exact same look as it did originally. Okay. I have never had a complaint. I just use these. Now you can buy these with a black, but I don't know if anyone's selling like beiges and reds and other colors. You can buy these. So what I might do the next time I buy a round is buy clears and buy these too. It wouldn't hurt to keep same, but no one's ever complained about any cassette I bought where I've switched out to just a clear case all the way through. So what do the letters HF, UDI, UR60, XL? what do they mean on tapes and so on. The numbers are going to be the minutes, so 90s a minute, 120, 60. And then the XL means it's bigger, the UD, the D, it's all the way that they're recorded, and it's telling you if it's a better cassette or not. So I don't know all the ins and outs of all of them. So for instance, these are normal bias UR90s. So I'm very much a music nerd, but when it comes to this stuff, I don't know exactly what this means. But when you're going to sell it, you just type in Max L 10-pack UR90s and then see what they're selling for. Do you rewind cassettes before shipping? Great question. I never have. And someone asked me the other day if I had. I'm like, I never thought about it. I got this boombox sitting here now. I might. Again, no one's ever complained. I've never even thought about it. I know it seems weird that I've never thought about it, but I never thought about rewinding the cassettes. I just list them and sell them, So no one's ever said, hey, jerk, you didn't rewind these. But I might. If you have a cassette player, like, there's no harm in it. It's nice. And the good thing is when a cassette rewinds, there is a hard stop when it hits the end. If the cassette had gotten old and brittle and it breaks, then you would know, oh, shit, I shouldn't sell that. So that's kind of a good test if it needs to be rewound. So give it a go. Are all replacement cases create equal, anything to look for? So here's what I do. I shop around for deals because they are pretty much all created equal. So the other day before I did the webinar, I wanted to see what the going rate was. So it was easy enough to find 43 cents a case. That's a lot of money. So within less than 5 minutes between searching eBay, multiple sellers, Amazon, Google Shopping, I got it down to where I could buy 500 for 24 cents a piece. That's a pretty good deal. You might be able to get to 20 cents a piece. Now, you might think, oh, geez, I don't have 500 cassettes. I move a lot of music, so I can order cassette cases in bulk, CD cases in bulk, record mailers in bulk. But you probably have friends nearby who also sell some music. And so people in the thrifting board, people in local meetup groups, what they do is, like my mom has a meetup group. They'll order 1,000 LP mailers because that's where you get the good price break. And then everyone will buy a lot of 50 right at the meetup. And so you get the better price break and you share it with your friends. Is target customers for cassettes millennials and collectors only? Well, millennials, collectors, and flippers. Because once you know that that's happening, you should get in there. So if you're not a millennial or a kid, a teenager, you're someone who's going to make some money on it. Do I always use best offer in my collections? Yep. I always price everything about 20% above what I normally sell, what it would normally retail for. So if a cassette sells for $20, I'll put it up for like $24. That way I can run some sales. That way people can make me offers. And it's looking like, and it's feeling like they're getting a deal, but I'm really just getting close to or just under what the normal going rate is. So I do that in everything. And does heat destroy the actual tape if we're kept in a car? Absolutely. Remember that whole example of the half of the cassettes in Arizona? So you won't know. You could play them all. Like I said, don't waste your time because I've only ever had a handful of tapes over 19 years between cassette, 8-track, and reel-to-reel where the customer said, hey, it doesn't sound good. And I just believed them, refunded and moved on. And I've sold thousands upon thousands upon thousands. So to have a handful over 19 years, it's not that big of a deal. No, I think that's a good stop point. Whew. So thank you everyone for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed flipping cassettes. I hope you get out there and go find some. Like I said, they're everywhere. My mom started finding them. I've trained my wife Stacy very well to look for them too. So when we hit places, I don't have to look at them just myself because I used to have to look at all the music. What? Oh, I thought you waved. You're like, hi. So you want to see her? Hi. There's Stacy. There she is. So but here's the deal. This is a hot thing that's going to end. I don't know when, but I decided I always want to do this webinar. And I was watching the cassette sales, new ones even, and used, go up and up and up. And so there hasn't been a breaking point. There hasn't been a point where it leveled out yet. So now's the time. Will it still be hot in a year? Yeah. 2 years, probably. Will it still be hot in 5 years? Probably not. So let's hit it now while it's hot. Get them for a quarter, get them for a nickel, and start flipping them. $2, $5, $10, $50, $7,000. You never know. But now you've got the education to go out there and start flipping cassettes. This has been another Jason Thrifts webinar, and I want to thank you very much. and have a wonderful evening and rock on.